States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we do the determination of quorum and the new board members, I just want to say David Solomon is here with us, but by Zoom. He is out with COVID, unfortunately, but he is on Zoom. Patrick Riley, as the city auditor, is here. Junior, as our outreach person, is here. And I'm not sure, for clarity, someone from the city manager's office going to be attending as well, or?
I believe someone from the city manager and the city attorney's office will be here.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move forward with the new board member introduction and determination of quorum. One of the other issues, the guest speaker, Daphne, here, hey, Paul. Your time. You're good. And Paul Bengal is the assistant city attorney who's the legal advisor to this board's here. So just so that everyone knows, Daphne Sainville, who's the government affairs person and economic development here at the city, is out as well, ill, and we'll move forward with her for the next agenda in April, which will probably be better. She will probably have a better idea as to what's transpiring in Tallahassee. The purpose of, for those of you, the purpose of having Daphne attend is keeping us informed with what goes on in Tallahassee so that we don't step out of our lane here, taking action on things that Tallahassee then undoes. So rather than wasting our time. So we asked her to monitor certain issues going on in Tallahassee and keeping us abreast. So at that point, new board member introduction.
Hello, I'm Harrison Graham Williams. I'm appointed by Steve Glassman to serve on the Charter Review Commission. Happy to be here. Anything else that I should add? I thought I was going to have to swear on something. But yeah, thank you so much.
Do you want to take, David, a determination of the quorum? We have, can go ahead, we'll start to my right, Ben Sorensen.
Yes, here, present. Thank you.
Richard Weiss.
Thank you, man. Here.
Chris Fertig.
Present.
Harrison.
Here.
And myself, Judy Stern, who is the chair of this board. One of the things that we did in the past, which is really important, we felt, in the past charter review, was always making sure we have government and public input, because the public is not well educated on what the Charter Revision Board does or what the charter itself does in governance over city government. Those of us up here are very familiar with the role of the charter, but the public really doesn't understand. So in the last go-around, we always have Representative be our liaison. Back then it was Ryan Henderson. And Ron Centimore was the person that would come before us and speak. But we always like to include anyone from the public to get some public input. What we also had discussed the last time, which I think is really key, is also making arrangements and recommendations to the city commissioners that when they do their district meetings, that we get invited at some point to come and speak to their districts, so that the public is always feeling that they're being included. There are ideas and thoughts, et cetera, that always come up. So with that saying, I'm glad to see the representation here from the Council of Civic Associations. If you just want to state your names for the record, showing your representation. Jim Concanon.
Mary Telepoint, Coral Raven, president of the council.
And Bill?
Bill Brown, president of Central Beach Alliance.
Okay. So we just think it's really important to maintain that openness and that type of communication. And again, like I said, a lot of people don't understand what the charter does, what the charter governs over. And at that point, if there's any public input, if you want to come forward, one of you, three of you, whoever, and make any statements to us or make any requests from us, now would be the perfect time to do that. So, anyone? Not yet. Okay. So the charter revision discussion here, and what we had discussed in the past is everyone has a little bit different interests, and everyone on this committee has different areas of expertise or knowledge. Richard, of course, for those of you that aren't familiar, Richard Weiss, who's a resident in District 1, has a long history of writing charters for other cities and serving on Broward County and Miami-Dade Charter Revision Boards. Richard, if you just want to give a 2-second, or does that pretty well sum it up? Sums up. And with that, some of us have different issues. Do you have anything specific that you're looking at that you want to talk about yet, or do you want to just learn more? And you've been provided with a copy of the charter?
I have been provided with a copy of the charter. Thank you, Chair. And I don't necessarily have anything to add to the agenda for this meeting, but again, I'm happy to absorb, and I'm sure this conversation is going to be ongoing. So,
Great.
thank you.
Chris?
Well, I don't know if this is the right time to raise it. I did receive, and many thanks from the city attorney's office, the revised list of charter sections suggested for revision. I would like to add some additional provisions if we can for future discussion. 3.04 qualifications, 3.09, 3.10, and also 8.09 and 8.21.
David and Paul, do you both have that?
I mean, I can go through and
I-
provide you with a description of the sections if you want. Okay, that's fine.
Some of them, at least one of them, maybe more, are on the conflict list that I prepared. At least one of them is. Two of them, yeah. A few of them are on the conflict list. And then yeah, and then on the list that Alan Boileau is keeping also. So, okay.
Okay. I was just referring to the list that
I have.
we received, the revised list, and I was just adding additional.
Oh, okay. You have this also, right? The chart?
I
That
don't
was
think,
an addendum, right, Junior, that you just, yeah.
Okay.
And some of the issues that brought us forward, I know I have put in writing over the last couple of years, requests for the Charter Revision Board to be resumed because we had finished our business when we completed in 2018. The gist was going forward with changing to November elections, running every 4 years. We had further discussions that we wanted to discuss about potential staggered terms at some point. We think that's, an issue that we felt was important. The other issues is that we found that this past city commission, when I say past city commission, the commission that served it through 2022, the actions that they took were inconsistent with state election laws. And also there were issues of concern, and it was very disturbing to find, which delayed the seating of the commission, that the city had ordinances on the book that were inconsistent with state law. So that was the precipice of bringing this forward now to start fresh. Also, the prior city commission also circumvented the charter as far as issuing licensing agreements for public lands, where the charter was very clear-cut on lease agreements. So to get around the city charter, what they started doing was issuing license agreements, which created a lot of controversy here in the public and a lot of public outcry. And that's an issue that needs to be addressed in the charter. And I know, Chris, that's an area that you're very much interested in. What I would like to ask of Harrison being employed over there at the county, which I also think we just had an issue that came up recently with ethics and solicitation and donations and for charities, fundraising, et cetera. There's very clear-cut state law, and there's also very clear-cut county laws on that. And in the county charter, if anyone looked at the county charter, it's clear-cut, and it does supersede over the city as well. So it would be great. I spoke to Drew Myers, who's the county attorney, who said he would be happy to work with us and would be perfect for you to be the liaison. I talked to many of the county commissioners all week, and the reporting things that they do have not been kept consistent here at the city, which is reporting of solicitation of charitable donations, solicitation for not-for-profits, solicitation for candidates, which are all supposed to be filled out and report. I know in your office, you do that on a regular basis. If you want to address that, what you do, what your process is at the county.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to see Drew make a presentation before this board. He is the expert, and frankly, the rule of thumb for all the commission offices is when in doubt, call Drew. The county attorney's office is happy to provide guidance on any number of questions with a level of specificity that is really unparalleled. I can't say enough about that. But again, the rules are pretty clear cut, and I think that that might be very helpful to inform the public at large and the other members of the charter review. So if you are requesting that, if you've already spoken to Drew, I'm
Well, if
happy
you would
to-
follow up,
Happy to do it.
great. He was giving me the sections of the county charter to look at,
Sure.
and I think it would be great if you could follow up with Drew and handle that. And the other request would be Nate Klitzberg. If you could
Nathaniel.
talk to Nate.
Okay.
Nate is the assistant county attorney that oversees the supervisor of elections. So he is the expert at the county on the election laws and the process and the timing. And we could have avoided a lot if the city had been responsive in working with Nate, and that would be a good education as well. And the other issue that came up, Nate had called me several times last year about redistricting, and that this city was not complying with the county's goals and deadlines for the redistricting submittals. We had this discussion back when Harry Stewart sat up here, and at that time with Harry Stewart as the city attorney, and Rochelle Gollop had brought that forward, and we did not have the same lack of cooperation between the city and the county. So it became a non-issue, and we dropped it from looking further in the charter. But we did have that problem this year with the county not being happy with the lack of compliance with the deadline. So maybe you want to talk to Nate as well as a future issue for us to make sure in our charter we are clear that everyone here understands the rules of ethics, solicitation, donations, campaign contributions, and the proper reporting and recording of those things. And the next, which isn't on the agenda, would be the total idea of reviewing the minutes. And if anyone had a chance to review the
Chair,
minutes.
I just have a
Yeah.
couple, if you don't mind,
Sure.
a couple sections, and maybe they're already included. I didn't catch all of those. Is section 305 include 3.05 included in our discussion?
We're going to be discussing actually all sections of the charter.
Oh, I thought you were asking Chris for everything he's interested in
Well, I
talking
was
about.
asking for him, yes.
Okay, so I'll just wait with mine. Is that what you want to do?
Now, if you want to go ahead and request section
Okay.
3.05,
Yeah, well, that's
that's
just,
designation of vice mayor.
that's one of them. And then,
That's on the list.
is that on the list? And-
That's on the list because it's inconsistent. Again,
Yeah,
you all, with Alan as city attorney, left everything inconsistent with practicality and law. So
Okay.
we're going to be addressing all of those issues.
Okay, great. And then I'm just not sure what section for the members of city commission boards, where's that? Or is that already on the list?
Paul?
Like who can serve on a city commission board?
There's an ordinance regarding boards. I'm not sure that's a
Correct.
matter of
Not in the
charter.
charter?
There may be a few boards mentioned in the charter, but otherwise, there's a section in the ordinance
Okay.
on boards.
Is that,
Yeah, because we did have a lot of concerns about people putting people with professions on zoning boards and then using them as treasurer and soliciting the people appearing before them
yeah,
and not disclosing that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that is something that if the city want to look at, as far as that type of conflict of the person serving as the treasurer of someone's campaign account after putting them on a P&Z board, being a realtor, and then soliciting money. So that could be something, if you want to look into,
yeah, I'm getting,
is clarity.
yeah, and I'm getting a lot from the community about lobbyists being on boards and so
Well,
forth.
Ben,
so-
yes, you had that discussion before,
Yeah, yeah,
and the issue was that the city, including yourself, have put lobbyists on boards. So if you want to go through every board, I'm glad to attack that issue up here, because even when you look at the appointments
Yeah,
to the
sure.
DDA, the Broward Center, P&Z board, a lot of those conflicts of interest.
yeah, yeah, I think
So,
that'd be good.
And the gift reporting, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
That people at the commission have to report the gifts to the state. And the gift law basically is $5. Harrison can tell you. So accepting gifts to go on chartered planes or trips or things like that should be a section that goes back to the ethics, which I think Drew Myers could be addressing with us.
I'd be happy to reach out to him.
And I think at that time, too, the looking at the state law on acceptance of the reporting, because I don't know if everyone reports when they do travel and they accept a travel gift.
I've been
Madam
lucky
Chair?
to not have to have that particular issue asked of Drew. I'm going to revert to my earlier statement. I'd be happy to reach out.
Perfect, thank you.
Is that, is, Richard, in other cities, is it normally an ordinance that kind of determines, as Judy mentioned, who's on P and Z, who can be appointed and so forth? Or is that a charter? What's your kind of guidance there?
Both.
Both.
Sometimes the charters specify that members of city boards must be residents, lived in this community for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like for Lauderdale Charter, there's a specific membership requirement for the Civil Service Board. But generally, the limitations on, if there's going to be a limitation on who can serve on city boards, in general, that could be in the charter, but not with respect to this, individual boards, unless that's sort of something.
Just broadly?
Yeah, just broadly.
Okay. That's great, thank you.
And I do
Thanks, Chair.
think that, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, there are certain criteria, certain occupations for certain boards
some
that
of the
require.
boards. But that's more a matter of ordinance,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, may I,
Yes, please.
so Commissioner Sorensen,
Yep.
I said that 3.05 is on the list. Actually, it's on my list.
Okay.
Because I was keeping a separate list myself.
As long as it's on someone's list, we're
It's on
good,
the-
Paul.
And if you want to know what else I have on my list,
Yeah.
besides the conflicts that I was asked to prepare,
Yeah.
I also, and I have a few that have already been addressed, but I also had 3.14 and I have 4.01. And, I mean, I can explain what I mean about them now if you want, or when we get to them.
Madam Chair, could I?
Yes, please. Richard.
I've done a lot of thinking about whether I should sort of step out of my lane here, but I've decided that I'm here, so I got nothing to lose.
Do it.
I feel like that we need to have some structure to the way we proceed. And sort of talking sort of in general about these sections, and I'm concerned about this. First of all, it doesn't give us an opportunity to sort of prepare. I'm sorry to show you my back.
No,
It doesn't
please.
give us an opportunity to prepare in advance. So I'm going to suggest a couple of things. First, I understand how busy staff is, but for me, and I talked to our representative before, me getting something the day before the meeting or 2 days before the meeting, honestly, I don't have a time to review it. It doesn't do me any good. I might as well, and so I request that we get the stuff Friday before the meetings so that we have an opportunity. I can't, otherwise The second thing is that I would suggest, again, I'm out of my lane here, but that I'll put on like, there's nothing really substantive on our agenda today. And so I feel like this is time that we could be using, you can't hear me? Better? Okay, sorry. Trying not to
Yeah,
give him my
you're
back.
fine, Richard. They're more important.
Trying to use this time, which is valuable, to get things done and to sort of, and I feel like there should be sort of a beginning and an end to this process. So what I'm going to suggest is that for our next meeting, however you decide to do it, Madam Chair, is that we start with the beginning of the charter and say, okay, the next meeting, we're going to discuss sections 1 and 2. That's it. So that way, all of us will have the opportunity to really review sections 1 and 2. The city attorney's office will have the opportunity to say, okay, in section 1, there's a conflict, section 2, that kind of a thing. And then we can get public input as to whether they want to make changes on section 1 and 2, and then we're done. And so there's this sort of, it's difficult for people just to sort of throw out this stuff in 3.2, but it's, to me, it doesn't, so that's my first is I'd like the preparation. Second, I think we should set an agenda for our next meeting, which is that we're going to deal with whatever sections you think, and I think it should be limited because, I don't know, is there an hour limit on these meetings or what? I don't know. And to me, to come down here for an hour is sort of a waste of time, and I'd rather,
Have substance.
but also have a longer meeting and get something done.
Agreed.
Okay, the third thing I was going to say is, I know I'm out of my lane here. I was going to suggest that there be some subcommittees because we're not going to sit here and draft charter provisions. And I think that, the issues that I've heard is that this parks issue, there needs to be some sort of a discussion and then maybe a proposal and then it needs to be done. So we come to the meeting with a draft of something so people can say, I don't like that, I like it, this needs to be added, whatever. One on that. Two, on something on the elections, because I just feel like talking, we're not going to, I'd like to, and this is really out of line, I really like to talk a little bit about primaries and whether we should I'd like to talk about primaries and whether that's something to do. And then it appears that there is an issue of some ethics that you're bringing up, and maybe there should be a report on, what's covered by state law, what's covered by the county code. And I know that when we did the county charter, we did the whole ethics procedure there. And I think that there's sort of a difference between what people are actually doing, which I don't think is our business, and what people.
Unless it impacts.
What people are, if people are not reporting, I don't really view that as a charter review issue. It's a matter of compliance and enforcement, as opposed to, the charter needs to be rewritten. So at least a report on, what the current, ethics is. So anyway, I know it's out of my lane, but I feel like we need to move through this systematically as opposed to just, I'm happy to hear what other people think about that.
And I don't disagree, because what we tried to do, and that's why it went back, where we would try to give people different roles with the charter to start working on, similar, like you're saying, the subcommittee, because if you have the area of expertise in something that someone else doesn't, start working with the city attorney on it, because those are issues that need to come forward. So I don't disagree with anything that you said. On the elections, outside of, I think, the most immediate things, we know that what transpired was broken, was wrong, was, this city ordinance was wrong. It should never have been written that way and put us in a very bad, embarrassing position. So I think that's something that could be very clearly by consensus start being cleared up. But overall, my concern with doing too much on the elections is doing it before the legislative session's over. Because with Tallahassee today, as you know and I know, they are changing those roles daily. And for us to spend time doing that whole section until we know what Tallahassee generates may be a waste of time. So we put that one off. But I don't disagree with anything that you raised in creating and we used to stay here till 7:30 at night working away on sections.
I mean, all of us have plenty to do, but if we want to get done, just talking here, by the time we get started, a half an hour is done, and then there's no
Right.
work.
Does the charter allow us to have subcommittees? Paul, I don't think it,
I was just about to go there,
Right.
actually.
I think it.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's one thing that I disagree with Mr. Weiss, and that is on the subcommittees.
Yeah.
The charter does, the ordinance does set out what the Charter Revision Board does. It's not it's not within its power to create subcommittees, but you also run into logistics problems with the sunshine law, with scheduling, with room reservation, because,
Let me
well,
ask,
I'll go back to, I don't think you have the authority to do it anyway.
so this charter really hasn't been changed since 1983. So there were a lot of things that didn't participate in the world back then. How was it done at the county? Because I know at the county you had many meetings and the public would be.
We did it exactly the way, all of the ones that I participated in, which is a lot, it's like 60, they're all done the same way, which is there are, and if the ordinance does the ordinance prohibit it? Or it
Prohibit it,
just
or
doesn't
just-
grant the authority?
I'm not aware of any board that has been able to create any subcommittee.
Anyway, maybe you guys could look into that, because I think it would be helpful, and if they need to be advertised as a sunshine meeting,
Right,
then
so
they
what?
are.
We
I mean,
don't
it's, it's just not, it doesn't need to be a formalized thing like this. It just, as long as the public can listen, can listen and participate, as long as we meet the requirements of the sunshine law, but it can be a committee of one as well. But anyway, but all of them have sort of gone through the same. They set a section, we have a full discussion of it. We don't finish the discussion, we go on to the next one. After the discussion, the city attorney's office goes back and drafts up what we look at. At the next meeting, there's a draft of what we've done. We approve it or don't approve it, and just sort of move through it.
I like it because I think that also gives the public notice. I'm thinking about the Council of Civics, so you know, here are the topics we're going to talk about next month. Read, prepare, feedback.
Well-
Yeah.
Well, but
Sounds
then
good.
we still need to get public input. To me, this meeting, based on the agenda that the city worked on, I felt was a good time, just more so for introductions and for us to start generating our thought process on it. And I think having the right speakers come and work with us too is very key. We found that extremely helpful, especially with the county and the ethics rules and the guidance, since they do govern over the city. So maybe we can get Drew and Nate, or Drew, or someone towards the next meeting.
Is that a call for a motion?
Do you want to make a motion, or just a point of discussion and move it forward?
Could I ask a question? What is he going to talk to us about? I mean, is he going to do a full review of the ethics laws under the state of Florida? It'll take us 4 hours. What is the purpose of having him come?
I think with Drew attending is giving us some guidance, because people don't understand. You understand because you've been there. But many don't understand what the county ethics and what the charter may or may not be including, that should be including based on the county governing board of the ethics. And I think it's very important for the public to understand. I think the first few months is more or less us educating the public as to what the charter does, because they don't have the information. No one's really worked with them before.
Madam
So-
Chair, if I may, there is one problem with that approach, though, if I may be so bold, and that is that the county's ethics rules are by ordinance. So they
It's in their charter. It's adopted into the charter.
I know, well, I'm not,
I have the sections from Drew, so.
okay, but the actual ethics rules are by ordinance.
No,
They may already be
it
in the
was charter
charter.
changes.
They
It was,
may
it was
already-
done by the voters.
They may also be in the charter, but it's section 1-19, I believe, or 119 oh, you know what? I think that's
I
right. It's
know,
the charter.
because it
It's
went
the
to the
charter.
voters.
It's the
Right,
charter.
it
I
went
was
to the
thinking- I was
voters,
thinking
and then
ordinance.
was
I think it
adopted
is the
into the charter.
I think it is a charter. Let me just make sure. I think you're right. I think you're right. I believe you. That's correct.
Madam Chair, if I might just
Yeah, please do.
follow up
Chris.
on this discussion. I like what Richard said about coming in and having a set agenda for a particular meeting to discuss a particular topic. But I would also suggest that some topics I think are more important than others, if we can categorize that, or at least the public has more interest in. And if we could organize it in such a fashion where we deal with the pressing issues first, and then maybe we go out of order and go
Together.
back to chapter 1 and chapter 2, just not a.
Harris?
I think it would actually make sense that for the next meeting, if we are going to invite the county attorney and possibly also county attorney, I know you keep referring to him as Nate, I've only ever called him Nathaniel Klitzberg, who oversees the supervisor of elections, to make presentations just for our own edification. That would actually be a very useful, I think, use of our time. And if nothing else, it would basically help inform the public, the city of Fort Lauderdale, the rest of the board, of some of the procedures, because again, these things were first put into ordinance back in 2010, then changed in the charter, adopted into the charter, and as time has gone on, certain things have had to be revised and amended based on practice. So there, while I appreciate what my colleague Richard has said, that to go over all of the ethics laws would take 4 hours. I do believe that Drew Myers would be able to do a tight 30-minute presentation on how we got from the ethics law in 2010 to where we are today operationally, such that if we are going to address ethics broadly, we can do so with, again, that information. Also, I should say that that ethics law in the county charter supersedes anything that is going to be in the city charter. The city charter is basically here to be stricter than the standard as it exists at the county level. So what we would be doing in that meeting, I believe, is setting the base level of expectation of this is what currently exists, even if there is not a single mention of ethics in the charter of Fort Lauderdale. That being said, I do believe it is worthwhile to have the discussion as the Charter Review Board of Fort Lauderdale of where we want to be stricter than the county standard.
I appreciate that.
And following up on, again, what Richard said about providing materials in advance, would it be possible for Drew to at least provide us, or someone, city attorney, with the county ethics, ordinances or what's in the charter? So we'll have a baseline before we come in.
And I don't know who received the revised list of charter sections suggested for revision signed off by Dwayne?
Yep.
Okay. And I will tell you that some of the points, and I appreciate what Dwayne did, because some of these points were based on changes that we did based on input from the city attorney at the time, and now Dwayne is bringing it back to us to make revisions now in a different manner. So the special meetings, how called, public hearings, public notice, those were all issues that we were provided for in guidance by the city attorney's office to do it this way. So now the new interim city attorney is advising us into a new manner. So I appreciate this revision, and we can take a look at this as part of the agenda.
I think what Mr. Furtick suggests makes sense, to take these sort of hot issues first. But let's put one of them on the agenda for next time, whichever one you feel, and we can have a discussion about it, and if you want to do ethics. But I think, I understand that there's some public interest and interest in dealing with those sort of hot topics to begin with, and then we could sort of grind through the rest of the stuff. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And what I'm hearing from just about everybody is elections seems to be one of the real hot topics.
However, we need to really wait.
Oh, I see, you want to wait.
Yeah, I just want to wait till Tallahassee's done. Because what their plans are and what our plans are may be two different things, and wipe out what our plans are.
What sections in the city charter do you want to touch on from an ethics component? Which
Basically everything.
broad
that-
numbers? Okay.
I mean,
Okay, so we'll stay with the
yeah,
whole.
because the failure of behavior has
Mhm.
brought that forward. You know, it
Okay.
was obvious during the election cycle,
Yeah,
so.
okay. So, great. So that'll be the reading homework for next month is broadly the charter. Think about from an ethical perspective, if I'm hearing it right, county presentation. Would we have, Madam Chair, a city presentation from an ethical standpoint or not necessary at this point?
Well, considering that the county ethics actually governs over the city ethics, I
Yep.
think we start.
Just start with the county and great, that sounds good.
And I'm sure that Drew will be monitoring what goes on in Tallahassee as well, that any changes to.
Madam Chair,
Richard?
if I could ask,
Yeah.
is there any section in the charter now or in the city code, city ordinances that deal with ethics? Now?
This, I don't, at one time I think there was, but I believe it was repealed when the county passed its, I believe it's an ordinance, but when they passed the county's code of ethics for elected officials, what we had on the books became moot.
The reason I'm asking, because if there's something in the city code, then we should find out what our, or in the charter, what our baseline is. If not, then we're just dealing with the state and the county. But if there's something already in the city, we should at least start that out, know what that baseline is.
I don't think there is anymore. I remember there was something and it was superseded by the county code of ethics, and I believe it was repealed.
Okay, so if I could leave it this way, if there's something in the charter or in the city code of the city that relates to ethics, if that could be presented at our next meeting as part of this sort of orientation that we have. If not, then there's no need for it.
There's also another, just to put thoughts out there for discussion with the public sitting here for them to even consider. There's some questions right now of people understanding the type of government we have. And currently, it's a commission manager form of government, commission being the whole body, not one person. And, those discussions, it's not a mayor form of government, it's not a city attorney form of government, but it's a commission as a whole with management. It's not, some of our cities gave it up, but I think that there's still plantation, is what Drew and I talked about, where it's a strong mayor with a administrator versus a management. So that is something also to ask for some input from the public, how they perceive our governance should be, continuing with a commission manager form of government. And since we don't have a mayor, or is it that the public wanted to switch to a mayor based on what we're, questions, do we expect a mayor administrator form, or do we want to maintain the commission as a whole with a manager form of government? So that's a question that's been coming around.
I think that's a very valid topic of discussion. I would like to add to that the number of commissioners that sit on the commission as a topic of discussion.
Discussion?
Harrison, are you saying that you feel due to the growth of the city and the population that there may be a desire to add another district or two because you don't want to have a even number?
I'm saying I think the public would like to weigh in on that.
Okay, no, but I'm saying, is that what you're saying, or are you talking about cutting down the commission?
No, I think personally that the number of commissioners, I previously lived in the city of Hollywood where I served on their charter review commission under also chair, former Judge Ron Rothschild. So glad to serve under two very distinguished chairs. That is a city that went to a larger commission. They now have 6 commissioners, 1 mayor. The commissioners are elected in district versus at large. And again, they did that anticipating further growth in the city. I think it's a valid topic of conversation. At this point, I don't have an opinion. I just think it is a valid topic of conversation similar to the commission manager form of government.
And I think also that also ties into what transpired here during the redistricting and gerrymandering to try to make people happy. So it's worthwhile looking at. Always open for that. And the other part was when you look into that whole section, going back to how do we convert, and Hollywood went through this, and we always used Hollywood in the past. Wilson Atkinson, who served up here with me, had been a former, attorney out of Hollywood area, and Richard knows him super well. And that's where he was leading us to, was looking more at how Hollywood made that transition once they switched their elections, and then they eventually made the switch to staggered terms too. So that would be also something to be put into consideration.
Another, Madam Chair, is staggering terms. I don't know if
That's what I just said.
something, sorry, that's what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, then, agree.
Sounds like there is broad consensus on these matters.
Yep, great.
Is there anything that we can be doing, working closer with you, or are you comfortable, and I'm looking at the public, as far as the Council of Civic Association, do you want to make recommendations of also doing it besides through the council, also doing it through each commissioner's district meetings? Can you give some thought to that and start talking about that? And then again, I'm sure that we could have besides neighborhood support, have someone work with you with the city attorney's office on if there's something specific that you want to bring forward for us to look into in the charter as well. We really want that public input, and we really want to have that interchange. And like I said, Ron Centimore, may he rest in peace. Ron used to appear at all the meetings to bring back the feedback to us. So we tried to work really hard with that.
I could say one thing.
Yeah, please, Mary, come on up.
This would be helpful if this was televised, or for lack of a better
It's supposed to be. You know what? Do we know if we did do that in the past?
Is it like?
Hi, it's David. Excuse me, it's Dave, City Clerk's office. Hello out there. Tonight is also the Marine Advisory Board, which is also on TV. So that's a conflict. So it would just have to be a determination which one is live on TV and which one's not.
What if it's just recorded?
Yeah, we could always record it, correct, David? And then it could be replayed at a different time?
It'd still be posted on the city's website, but if we have.
That's Jim Concanon speaking.
Yeah, we can have it. We could, the IT guys are in the back. I think Andres is back there, but I think we can put it up on YouTube afterwards as well.
That would be great.
That's fine.
And the other thing that we did, Dave, if you remember when Jeff was here, we also set up a system so that if the public had questions, they could send it over to the city for us to take up for consideration. So if they couldn't attend, they could always submit questions.
Okay, I'll look at that.
That would be great.
Yep.
So basically, what we want to start with next month would be with Drew and getting a handle on that section and having that discussion. And like I said, I know what your key issue is, Richard. Can you help work on the agenda?
I'm happy to. I'm happy to. I was asking our staff person how the agenda gets set. And
Just speak into the mic, just so.
I was asking how the agenda gets set, and she said that you guys worked on it, which is fine, but I'll be happy to work with her on.
Yeah, because when Harry was here, Harry Stewart was here, we would work directly with the city attorney's office and then present it. We worked with Jeff in the city clerk's office and city attorney's office and then present it.
Well, I think it's not only the agenda, but I hear it's also the materials. I mean, there should be, in the next agenda, a copy of the state law, should be a copy of the county
County's
ethics charter provision, a copy of the county code provision, if there is one, a copy of anything in our charter that deals with ethics, and a copy of anything in our code of ordinances, if Paul looks at it, there is anything. And that way, everybody would have sort of a baseline. And I don't know if that can get posted online, but that way the public also could see what's currently in existence. I mean, actually, to put all of the state ethics laws in our agenda is going to
It's
be
ridiculous.
huge, because it's gifts, it's solicitation. I mean, there's so much. But maybe at least I don't know what to do with that, but at least the county code provision, county.
I have a copy of the county code with me, the county charter, if you want to take it, or if you want me to submit it to the staff.
I think when they do,
So
when
that
they
they know
do the
what we're-
agenda, part of our agenda package that the public can see too should be part of
Put the link online.
Similar to how the city commission does the backup
Right,
material.
exactly.
City
Yep.
commission meetings.
Well, and that goes back to timeliness of providing. I know at the county, you changed the rules once the county switched to 2 meetings. It used to be 4 meetings a month. It's the way the county operated. Actually, it was more than that, but when they reduced it down to 2 meetings a month, that's when you changed the date of when the county administration had to provide the agenda for the following meeting. So what's the time limit now?
So
Which
current,
might be helpful to something that you as the public.
so currently, the agenda that is coming out tonight for the county commission is an agenda for a meeting on March 14th.
March 14th.
So there is a limit to when things can be added as supplemental items, which is usually the week before Tuesday to Tuesday. We also have meetings on Tuesdays. It is the week before, and past that, if there's an extenuating circumstance, the mayor can grant a blessing to add
Right.
something as a late supplemental. But typically, nothing is really permitted anymore past the Thursday before the Tuesday commission meeting. And again, that is to let the public be informed, and also prior to those changes, the Monday before a Tuesday commission meeting was an experience. But this definitely
Monday night
spaces things
memos.
out. Right, and again, I think it allows the commissioners, at least from my experience of having worked for 2 separate commissioners at the county commission, much more, thorough opportunity to walk into those meetings fully versed on the issues, having already approached staff. And ironically, it's made the meetings a lot shorter. Because most of those issues are worked out because those questions are asked and answered well in advance of the board sitting down to discuss them for the first time. Nobody is being asked to vote on something that they haven't had time to read and digest.
And I sat through those meetings since I started over there in the 90s.
My apologies.
And I know that, I agree with you, that meetings are much smoother, running quicker. And the fact that it also gave the neighborhoods opportunities to come in and actually talk to the commission and get feedback. And then the commission can meet with staff and then still have time to get back with them or put together joint meetings. So I think it's a really good area. I know that there are other sections of the charter as we go through that need to be looked at. The section dealing with the executive airport over here, it's in the charter. I know that with some issues, someone had called me that's on the Aviation Advisory Board, and there was an audit done that was not very favorable. And the fact that they cited in the audit issues with the inconsistencies of the operations there with the charter. So that's another issue down the road. But these are all different issues as we move forward throughout the year that we could be pulling forward.
So could we have an agreement that we'll have our agenda materials the Friday before the meeting? Can staff do that?
Yes.
Okay, great. That way we can look at them over the weekend and be ready for the. Great. Thank you.
So just to be clear, moving forward, Jania Robinson, staff liaison, just to be clear, so I will follow up with Richard to work on the agenda. And I will contact you to confirm if who the speakers are from Broward County, Harrison, and confirm their attendance and the material that they will have. I'll have that ready for the board prior to, and any other material that the city attorney's office has ready.
And one quick question, when does the Council of Civic Association meet?
second Tuesday of every month,
Okay,
except July.
so there's plenty of time. That's what I was looking for. So there's plenty of time between the second Tuesday and getting information to us for the following first Thursday.
I'm sorry, the microphone. So just so that I know that it was on the recording, it's the second Tuesday of every month is when our general membership meetings are, right here in this room, with the exception of July, 6:30 at night.
So that works perfect with us getting some input and still having time to get our agendas done for the meetings.
And I would just like to add that for as much law as covers ethics for elected officials in the state of Florida, we county employees are the beneficiaries of an annual refresher course currently being offered by Drew's Assistant County Attorney, Kristen Carter. She has a presentation that is already prepared that I'm sure is very easy to send over to the city. And again, that can be prepared for next month's meeting with plenty of advance for people to review, plus then the live presentation by hopefully the county attorney himself, Drew Myers, pending availability.
And I do know that the elected officials here, just so that you all understand, they have to go through an annual training. And the League of Cities and the Office of the Inspector General both offer. I know that only one or two took up the League of Cities training, which was a very good panel discussion with two of the law firms that govern that type, have that expertise. I know that one other person went through the Inspector General's office training. So
Would it be prudent to invite the Inspector General as well?
think about that. You want to talk to Drew? You have a new one, right? John Scott's retired, or is he still there?
I don't know if he's retired yet. No, I know it's Jody that's coming
Yeah.
in. I don't know when she starts.
Okay.
This might be her first official meeting. That'd be cool.
You want to do that jointly with
So
Drew?
if we're doing, if I'm going to help with the agenda, how much time do we expect to spend at our next meeting? Because this is a lot of speakers, and I want to let the speakers know that they're supposed to speak for 5 minutes or 30 minutes. So how long, Drew Myers could speak for the entire hour if you have the Inspector General, and if you have, so how much time do we expect to spend next time? How much?
Do you want to put 2 hours aside? Do you think 2 hours is sufficient, Richard, or?
Fine. I mean, we just need to let the speakers know how much time they're allotted so that they don't prepare a 2-hour presentation and then we say time to go and then half an hour.
David Sullivan?
I'm here. Hello.
Do we have a time limit on this room?
No, there's not a time limit on the room.
2 hours, you think?
I'm happy to ask him to prepare a presentation that is as long as needs be for
So I
the
can't
sake of
talk to
hearing.
you, I'll talk to our staff person and we'll sort of figure out timing, how much time and she'll let you know how much time to tell Drew. Is that fair?
That's fair. And my suggestion was also to invite the Inspector General for questions, not for a separate presentation. Looks like there's board
Sounds good.
consensus.
I think that's a great way to start for the next meeting. Anything else yes, Chris, please.
I know we've set the next meeting, but should we at least spool up maybe one or two other issues so we'll have some sense of where we're going? I know we aren't going to talk about elections because of that.
The session, right?
Yeah, do we want to jump into public lands after that?
I would think that the next topic should be public lands because that's the largest outcry of the public. I think that is really important. I think those two issues are really top issues from being out there on the campaign trail. Yes, Jim?
Madam Chair, may I just opine on the length of time that speakers would be allowed? The council has about a 10-minute limit on speakers. If we're going to have multiple speakers and you want to engage the public over a prolonged period of time, and this will be a prolonged period of time, I would suggest that you have 10 minutes or less if you're going to have more than 2 or 3 speakers at a meeting, because otherwise the public is going to lose interest very quickly, especially if we're going to be posting these things online. And I think the goal of this is to try to engage the public as much as possible. So in the interest of that time span, or limited time of attention span time, we keep it to no more than 10 minutes per speaker.
I think because of the depth of that specific topic, it's too difficult to keep it limited to 10 minutes. But what,
Then you
I
have
wonder
fewer
if-
speakers.
excuse me?
Then you would have fewer speakers at a given meeting.
Well, we're just talking right now about 2 speakers coming to the meeting. But it would not be a bad idea for you to invite your complete board to hear more on the ethics. I think that would be something really valuable for them to understand, since that question comes up so much.
Do you want to do a board meeting?
Let's just invite them. Let's just invite them and see how, I mean, I don't want to make it be like the board meeting would be here, because we do cover a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
If I could just address that, I know the public is a very important component of what we do, but I think we have asked to hear a presentation on county ethics for us as well for the baseline, and I think our attention span would probably be significantly longer than 10 minutes on this particular topic.
I was going to say, if you really want the public to be paying attention, just talk about the 3P process or lack thereof of it. You'll have an audience.
I'm sorry, I'm having
I
difficulty.
understand what you're talking, once we get to the public lands and we talk about
Yes,
3Ps,
yes, people will,
licensing,
we hear that over and over and over again.
Right.
It's a big topic in the neighborhoods. So you would have a lot of engagement if you can get that on your agenda sooner rather than later.
so I think that'll be the second meeting.
Okay.
This is the March, April, the May meeting. And you could start letting people know that we'll put together an agenda for that May meeting dealing with that topic. And like I said at the very first meeting that the concerns came about circumventing the charter with these licensing agreements. And that's why I knew that this land, public land is, and again, it's a subject to, May would probably be good as well for that because of Tallahassee. There's certain things going on in Tallahassee as well that may impact on some of those discussions.
The council itself, we actually are having a committee to study what Tallahassee's ordinances are, and I don't know what the county has, but we're kind of going to start getting into the weeds on it just to educate ourselves.
So Daphne, who was supposed to speak tonight, she is the city's liaison for Tallahassee. And
Okay,
she's
Daphne,
in
yeah.
contact and staying on top of,
Yeah, we've gotten information from her.
okay.
Chair?
Yes.
Would you still like Daphne to present at the meeting next month? Or should we wait for the following? Because it seems like you're going to have quite a bit of speakers. Do you want to delay that?
So why don't we ask Daphne to submit a memo to us so that we just have an update if there's anything that affects the elections or public lands?
So
And
the
have that
memo,
submitted to us just as a backup memo for our backup agenda?
so just to be clear, so you're just requesting a memo from her?
For an update as to what's going on, transpiring in Tallahassee on those issues. And this way we can start and see how this works,
Would it be
this format.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Would it be prudent to invite Daphne to speak before the commission and give more of a presentation after the session's over? And there is, again, more conclusion to, obviously, it's going to take some time for the governor to sign everything, but at least after sine die, we have a sense of what these changes are that we can anticipate.
We'll have that done in the session's over in May, so,
So
So
the
maybe-
June meeting, most likely.
yeah, make that the June meeting, actually.
Okay.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we're going to have Drew Myers speak, a summary of the county ethics provisions, what they are. second speaker, you wanted the Inspector General to speak? Is that what the second speaker you're talking about? Okay. And then opportunity for public input and then discussion. And then if there's anything from the city of Fort Lauderdale, that'll be part of the presentation. So that'll be the baseline. And we can have a discussion as to whether the city needs to have more. Yeah? Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So see your first meeting, your lead off.
This has been delightful. I'm looking forward to some nice long meetings, some good discussion, and hopefully, again, we have some positive changes to make, to provide to the voters, and obviously they are the final adjudicants of what gets into the charter and what's not.
That's great. All right, anything else?
We have Bill Brown.
Yeah, Bill?
Madam Chair, if you would, just for clarification, if I heard it correctly, that the public will have the same information in the back, as a packet and backup material on the Friday prior to each meeting?
Yes.
Yes,
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
it's called public records.
No, but it's going to be published as part of the agenda, right? When you publish our agenda, all the backup
Alright.
material will be online.
Okay, anything else?
Chair, yeah, just to remember to approve the minutes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Do you want to go back to the October, because I'm the only one up here that can approve the minutes from October 2018. Who has knowledge? How do you want to handle that, Paul?
Well, Madam Chair, if it's up for a vote, you all have to vote, though.
Yeah.
You know what? We've been dealing with this for the second meeting. I move that we approve those old minutes and the new minutes and move on from here. I mean, these minutes are aged. They're going to be like maybe made of papyrus. They're so old.
I second it.
All right.
Call the question?
Aye.
Harrison?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimous. David? Usually David's sitting here and he does that, so it's like playing.
All in favor? Sorry,
David?
I was on mute.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.